Okay, so this edit is going to be inspired by Man Ray, who's a very famous artist, the early 20th century, one of the pioneers of photography. So this is one of his, what he calls photograms. It is a photograph, but as you can see, there's a lot of editing that's been going on. It's not editing in the sense that we know of today, because they wouldn't have had computers and the like. What he did is he explored and experimented with different chemicals, different ways of processing the paper. But we're going to simulate that. We don't need to get our hands wet and mess around with some horrible chemicals. So sorry about that if you're looking forward to perhaps doing that. But we're going to simulate it in Photoshop. So firstly, we need to select the correct photograph. So there is a landscape. We could do it with that. There's another landscape that I was editing before. We can do exactly the same thing with all of that, but we want to make a clear link to the artist. So for this one, we're going to go for a hand. So there's a hand, my hand, holding a pen, and I'm going to do a little solarized edit of that. Really easy. First and foremost, I don't need all of the background here. I don't think you need to see much of my sink, which is where I took the photograph, so I've got a nice plain background. What I'm going to do is I'm going to crop out just the hand and the arm. There we go. So now I've got my crop done. Image, adjustments, black and white. Now here I can choose different types of black and white depending on the sort of effect that I want. So I can go down the list of presets and choose lots of different types. Now for solarization to work really well, I need something that's quite grey, and for this one, just the default setting where everything's sort of greyed out, there's nothing too black, nothing too white, everything is kind of a grey colour. That works really well. If you've got too high a contrast, so you've got like mostly black or mostly white, then the solarization doesn't work so well. So you want it less contrasty, more kind of greys. So that one's okay. You're going to have to experiment with this and try out lots of different types, and you might find a setting that works better for you, for what you want to achieve. But for me, that's what I'm going for, because remember, I'm trying to simulate something similar to that. So once I've got black and white, image, adjustments, I'm going to mess around with the curves. Okay, curves control the balance of colour, and this line is the current colours that there are in the image. So you see a little histogram behind the mountains there. That's showing me what different colours are there, all stacked up together. I know it's a grey picture, so you're probably sat there going, what? There's no colour there whatsoever. But it is actually made up of those three colours. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that so much. All you need to worry about is what happens when you start messing around with this line. So you start at the beginning, click anywhere once to create a point, and then what you can do is you can move that point up and see it washes out the whole picture. Now if I put another point up here and I create a little dip, there we go, immediately it all goes completely bananas. So it's pretty much reversed the picture. Not all of it though. What I've done there is, by creating that line going in the opposite direction to the diagonal there, I'm creating a bit of an inversion. So I'm reversing the colours in that part of the colour range. So everything that's sort of in that intensity of light and dark, all the colours are now reversed. So dark becomes light, light becomes dark. See there, the shadow has gone white, well, a lighter grey. The shadow bits in my fingers have gone grey as well. So what you can do is you can experiment with that, and you can add in more pits and troughs. There we go, now you're getting somewhere. That's a bit too much. So everything that sort of hits the top, it becomes too intense. And it is a balancing act, and every single picture you edit this way is going to be unique. So for this picture, I've got that shape of curve, and for a different photograph it would be very, very different. So if I click OK, I could just leave it like that. Yeah, it's quite similar, isn't it? But you notice that my background's still quite dark. So there's several things I could do. I could go in and edit it further, use my trusty rubber tool, make sure it's a soft rubber, and I can start to, whoops, see, I forgot to change the background colour to just white. There we go, that's better. And then I can just very carefully rub out some of the background to bring the white back, if I so wished. Yeah, but you know, why does it have to be exactly like that? Why can't it be subtly different? Why don't I make it darker instead? I can just go in with the paintbrush, do exactly the same thing. In another video I talked about something called a vignette, where you darken the edges. So to make this a really sinister looking image of my hand drawing in the ether, I could really darken the edges. Ooh, that's very creepy. It's probably a bit extreme, but you know, we're after a very definite effect here for this project. So there we go. I'm quite liking that. Okay, so that's a solarisation of a photograph. It's not an actual solarisation because that's a different technique using all chemicals, but it's a way to simulate it, to make it look solarised using Photoshop. So image, adjustments, black and white, and then curves, and then just have a play around. Remember to save your stages as you go, so you've got a record of how you got to where you got to. Alright, all done.